Hi guys, welcome to Inspirational Journeys Through Life with Straight Talk with Nolan. We all have such beautiful journeys going through life, and very often we tend to miss it. But today I've had the opportunity to come across a young lady who has such an authentic story that touched me deeply, and I decided that we got to get her on the show. So her name is Denolia Pillay. She's from Cape Town, and she's currently 21 years old, studying psychology. Now, this is what stands out for this young lady, right? She's walking the path of one of the finalists of the Miss Deaf SA pageant, which took place in September of this year. And one of the reasons why she entered was to create awareness and create an equal-based platform in humanity for herself and for the deaf community as well. Now, Denolia was medically diagnosed as profoundly deaf at the age of 4 months old. And further to medical diagnosis, she is also blind in her left eye. Now, she did not know about the deaf pageant, but when she did find out about it, she immediately entered, and because she wants to create this awareness in society. She wants to be able to integrate with both the hearing and the deaf communities, bringing them together, bridging the gap between them as well. And she's living proof that deaf people are very intelligent and they are perfectly normal in many ways. She was also able to just do about anything the hearing world can do. And this is so true. I can relate with this. A lot of the deaf people or a person that has a disability, they always tend to do more than a normal person. And this shows that they never give up on life. They always go-getters as well. And she believes that she has a right, she and everyone else has a right to live out of the box, allowing themselves to show their presence in this universe without a label or judgments or even being bullied into submission. She needs to break through this barrier and create an acceptance in the society that we live in. And we'll talk a bit about this in a short bit. Now, Denolia was also bullied when she stepped into grade 7, and she had to decide to quickly start changing her mindset and start embracing the insecurities as well. And this is where she believes that her whole life started changing into a better world. And it was so convenient that she joined the Miss Deaf pageant as well. So if you don't know, if the audience does not know as yet, MDSA stands for Miss, Mr. and Mrs. Deaf South Africa. It's a pageant that we have for the deaf people in South Africa and the rest of the world. But here's the thing, right? A lot of us know or can relate to Miss South Africa without the deaf. And there's so many people that get attracted to that because it's a normal pageant. But what's wrong with a deaf pageant? It's also normal. There's just a disability involved. And this is where we're trying to bridge the gap and get the hearing people to understand that no matter what disability you have, you are still human. So in saying this, I'm just going to hand over to Denolia just to give us a quick introduction. And Denolia, I must say, it's such a privilege to have you on our show today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blessing to be able to, spread the word and try to get awareness out there, given that, the world is so big. So it's always good to find ways to connect with people. So as Nolan mentioned, I am 21 years old. I resigned in Cape Town and I'm in 3rd year psychology. I have taken a break a little bit from my studies, however, because everything was just getting a bit too much within this current semester, which I felt like was a good thing to do, given, you also have to put your mental and emotional well-being at highest, just make sure you're okay on that level until you can continue. So I took a break from my studies and I actually am working as well. So I work with kids that have cochlear implants in hearing aid, which is a school that's called Carl de Toy. And I used to be one of them when I was much younger. And it's just been a blessing being part of it and just taking one day at a time. So at the moment, there's not extreme things I can elaborate on other than just being 21 years old, being deaf in both ears, and I'm cochlear implanted, which aids me to be able to have this interview right now and be able to speak. And a lot of people do assume, like, how are you speaking? Because the minute you tell them you're deaf, they instantly have that mentality, oh no, you can't talk, and they start talking down on you. This is also one of the reasons why I would like to create the awareness that just because someone is deaf does not mean they can't have a conversation, they can't do other things that normal people can do. So hoping with this, the awareness can get far more, reached out to far more people.
Wow. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. So have you always been in Cape Town, or is that where you were born?
Yes, I'm born in Cape Town, and my mom moved over when my brother was, I think, 3 years old.
Okay.
And then she had me 2 years or 3 years down the line. So I've always been in Cape Town.
Wow. I'm very interested to know how did your parents manage? How did they like kind of school you? Because obviously they did not know how to sign at that age, or did they
Yes.
know how to sign? How did they communicate with you?
So when my mom first found out that I was deaf, which was at 4 months old, she didn't know what to do. She had no resources or any sort of information, like solid information to help her to be able to help me. So after like going from doctors to doctors, different audiologists, till finding the right person, my mom got her answers. I mean, it was an easy journey. Like, I can say that it was not an easy journey on both parts. But my mom wanted to go like groom me up in a normal world,
Yeah.
not treat me any different, which is why she didn't teach me or like take upon sign language, and rather just try to find a normal way to get where I need to be, which she felt that was the right choice, and I'm happy that she took that choice.
Wow. Well, hats off to your mom, right? And salute to her for, standing by you and making sure that you can get to be 21 years old and get to be on shows like this and express yourself. I mean, I know you've been on quite a few radio interviews as well. So that, in my books, is really excellent, the way, your career is just taking off as well, and you're growing with it. So well done and congratulations on that. Now, I know we met prior to the MDSA pageant, prior to us meeting again in Durban. And in this whole experience after the MDSA pageant, how did you feel, at the pageant? Just give us a heads up about how did it go during that pageant week, because I know it's the week where all the contestants get together and you basically connect with each other. You become more than friends, right? Because it's become such a tight-knit community as well. How did it feel in that week or the run-up to the pageant, and also being back home now as well?
So during the public week, there was a lot of emotions that got to the point of feeling so overwhelmed that you had to like sit down and just reflect on everything. Every night when I stepped into my bed, it took a lot to reflect on, and just being in the community, a complete signing community was very different, and that was a learning experience for me. Not that it was a bad thing. However, it was more of a step back, because it took a lot for me to be able to, I don't want to say fit in, but be able to just be in that environment. Some days I'd feel even more tired, because I have to consciously remind myself that I can hear and I can speak. But being in this community, it's different. Your whole world is different. You basically, to put it in words or an image, is you're basically watching TV on mute, and you just visualizing everything. So the whole week was an experience, a good experience, being part of the community, being exposed to that environment and seeing their world, even in a different way. It was exciting. It was very exciting with the events that we did throughout the journey. Everything was a blessing to be part of. And I feel for myself, I felt like I've grown a lot from it during the experience. And when I got back, it only hit me on Saturday evening after the crowning, that it hit me physically to the point that I didn't allow myself to actually feel everything, because everything was just here and there. So you have to really like sit down and think, okay, so you went through the pageant, what is the plan from here? And when I got back home, that's when I really like sat down with myself and spoke to myself. Like, I know that sounds so weird, but speaking to yourself does really help, because you intake everything, you're actually listening to your heart. And I'm happy I went through the experience, very happy, but I feel there's something bigger and better that's going to come out of it, and more so much more. I feel like something's gonna like prosper out of it. Even though I didn't come home with a crown, which is perfectly okay. I mean, I entered this knowing that whatever the outcome is, as long as you go with it and you creating awareness, especially for the little ones, the small kids that I work with, they're so young that they don't have this exposure and they don't know these sort of, resources. I'm hoping that it will reach them to the point where they get to my age, that they have these, these tools that they can use to get them to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I must say, to me, every single one who took part in this competition are winners in my book. And
definitely,
it takes a lot to step up. And you found out about this pageant very recently as well. And you stepped up and you decided, why not go and enter this competition? And you did it, 100%. Right? You got to Publicity Week, you did your fundraising, you did everything as well. So, that's really somebody who is going all out to make sure that they can make some dreams come true as well, right? I know of contestants that have entered over and over as well. And every single time they come back and they just smile and just saying that they are winners as well. So, definitely. Well done on that. I know in the community that you were with as well, there are some people that have cochlear implants and they are hearing as well, right? So, and I totally understand where you said it's like watching the TV with the mute button on, because for me, I don't know how to sign. I know a little, I know the basics how to sign, but I don't know fully. So sometimes I feel a little lost, but then I have to remind myself, but why am I lost? I'm lost because of my own doing, right? If I take the initiative to learn sign language, then I can be part of that conversation. And
100%.
Exactly. So just to move it away from a deaf and a hearing community perspective, if you look at just hearing people alone, I used to work in corporate a few years back. And what I used to find is if you're having a conversation in English, suddenly there's another language that comes in place and you feel excluded from that group. This is exactly what you would have experienced during that week as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did at least came back with some very basic understanding of sign language. So I'm happy with that, and I can always elaborate and go on it, which I am currently doing. I'm going through it very slowly, like trying to learn little by little, which hopefully one day I can be able to get to having a full-on conversation in sign language.
Oh, no, you will. It takes time. I've been connected to the deaf community since 2019. And I know very basic stuff like hello. And recently I've been learning like, how are you? And this is like no, and this is, but no, you say it like with intention, you shake your head and with like an expression, right? Because the expression, because it helps them to understand better as well.
100%. 100%.
Part of deaf culture is when you speak, you must always look at the person and speak. So even they can lip read you as well. So it's such a beautiful community.
Definitely, no, please.
I'm sure you took away a lot of lessons and a lot of learnings as well, right? Would you like to just share a few?
So one of the main things is just try not to lose yourself in a community that you're not used to being in. That's one of my biggest lessons I had to learn. Like, you're in a completely different world. You need to be able to adjust and not lose yourself. I did feel quite a few times that I was losing myself, that I had to remind myself it's okay, you're in a safe space, and it's all about the learning, and how you come out of your comfort zone only allows you to grow. So what helped a lot during the process, that at least with the band that was with us, I was playing the drums. And that's also something I learned. Drums, the sound, with the vibrations, you feel it so much more when you can't hear. And I didn't actually realize that only until I got to experience it. I know that music, you feel vibrations, but taking your cochlears or your hearing aids off and not hearing and just feeling vibrations, you're like, this feels powerful. That's one of the other lessons I've learned. So back to the band. The band was at least with us most of the nights. Some of the nights after supper or like during supper, I would rotate myself being with them and being with the deaf community, only just to help myself not feel out of balance or out of place. But if I didn't have that sort of sense of knowing where you are from, I don't think I would have completely managed through it. Honestly speaking, I don't think I would. But I'm glad that I pulled myself through it, because there was not every day that they were with us. And the days that they weren't with us, I had to be okay with it and just go through the experience, which helped a lot every day. I think those are like the two big learning experiences I had to go through, and just being in that completely sign language. It's different also when you're in a hearing community and you have to learn how to be in different environments with people who speak differently, and your concentration on how you grasp that conversation. Like, that is also something I had to learn with the sign language, being able to still be intact in the conversation and not lose it. Yeah. So it was like you said, when you're in world and you have one person from a different language, they would have to learn and grasp the conversation a little bit slower than the rest. Right. The same thing with you. So like, even if you grasping it at a slower pace, as long as you somewhat still there.
Yeah, and I think what's important as well is, you're in that community, you're in that group, and obviously you feel each other's energy as well, because everybody's on this high at this time, because it's publicity week, it's pageant on the weekend, etc. So everyone's excited and just connecting with each other. I think that's a major takeaway as well, right?
Yes. Yeah, like, I mean, on the main Carnival evening, it was rushed. Like, everything was super rushed, which was understandable because everyone's trying to get, the destination of each thing happening. But like, it was a good experience. It was different. I have entered, it may be different, but I entered the school's Miss Tafelberg, which I happen to have won the crowning for that. But the concept of it gave me an understanding of what to sort of expect for this main thing, but on a different level. The hype was there 100%, but it was different in the sense of the crowd. So, when you clap, you would obviously hear the clapping. And then with the sign language, you clap like this. Yes, so like just hearing the two different, like being in the two different worlds, with a place where they're clapping and they're screaming, and in a place where they just sign in, it was like, wow, okay, that's very different. I felt very, very much in a different world, which, that's part of the journey of it.
Yeah. I can imagine, I mean, I've been recently very connected with an event with the deaf people as well. And there were some that were only signing. If I did not have an interpreter with me, believe me, I would be totally lost. So I'm so grateful for the interpreters as well, because they're always there to help us.
100%. I would feel the same if there was no interpreter with us. I would have be completely lost everywhere. So I'm grateful that there is people who are able to like fully be able to interpret, which helps. And I mean, there was only there was only two of us in the group that wasn't able to understand sign language completely, but at least we knew each other, so that helped being able to feel not alone in the community. When we found this out for the first workshop, when we met for the first time, that's when we started connecting and just knew that at least we know that we're not alone.
Yeah,
we can still get through the process of everything.
But the thing is, one is never alone, right? Irrespective of who is around us or who's our surroundings, who's our circle, we're never alone. So a lot of us think that sometimes we're alone, and when we start thinking that and believing it, we really become alone, because we're not allowing ourselves to get out there. And if I look at you at 21 years old, you're getting yourself out there, you're connecting with people, you're doing so many wonderful things. I mean, even with your school, Calder School, right? You said that the school focuses a lot on hearing aids and cochlear implants, but how do you think the children there feel? I mean, tell me a bit more about how does it feel? Because I'm sure in the school, there are some children that can only sign as well.
So there's a baby who is, I think he's actually not a baby. I can't say he's a baby, but he looks roughly around about 3 years old or 2 years old, but he has Down syndrome. And he just had his second switch on for his left ear done for cochlear. So he can hear. I'm hoping he can hear. He seems to be very interactive. When you call him, he would look at you. But some of the teachers are trying to teach him very basic signs, so like how to sit down, how to say thank you, but not completely sign language. So they're mainly trying to focus on getting the kids to be able to make use of their cochlears or hearing aids or their bar. The bar creates a sort of vibration on a different level comparing to your cochlears and your hearing aids. But all same outcomes. And then really just try to focus on these kids to be able to speak and hear. So I personally feel with these kids, they're not exposed to older people who have cochlears or hearing aids. And the very first day that I started volunteering, and I think my hair was tied up, and they saw these like objects on my ears, and they started like screaming, not screaming like scared, but like screaming out of joy and excitement. And then they just started calling the next kid to come and see, and they said, this girl has cochlears, not only one but two. And they would literally come stand, like they'll pull me down and look at my ears, and they have that reaction just told me that they have not seen an adult with a cochlea. And it got me to the point of feeling so overwhelmed and reminding myself not to cry in front of these kids, because it's just so much to intake, just seeing the reactions. And that went on for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks ever since I started volunteering. And then the week before the pageant, I think it was the week before, I was offered a position there permanently for the year, which had me going there every day. And just being able to be part of these kids' lives, showing them that, as a big person, you're still going to use your cochlears or your hearing aids. Because one of the audiologists that told me, like we were having a conversation, and she just said that she asked them, will you use your cochlea or your hearing aid when you're big? They said no. Only because all of the staff there doesn't have cochlears or hearing aids. So I'm technically the first one to show them, that you're still going to make use of it. It's part of your life.
Yeah.
And the way how you take it on now will carry you throughout. But if you had to speak to these kids, you wouldn't say that they have it. Like they speak very well. There's like, some of them are still at a slower pace, but the rest, if you just have a conversation with them, you like talking to a normal human being. And that is something I'm hoping to carry and show them, being in a normal world, despite you having cochlears or hearing aids, you still can make it through. You still can do whatever you want. And just seeing the motivation of doing everything, wanting to do everything, only got me wanting to be part of it even more. Because just seeing the roles being reversed. I used to be their age when I was there, and now I'm back there, but in my adult life and teaching them, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Wow. So you basically, if I look at what you've done and why you've decided to do this voluntary work, is because you know what you've been through as a child growing up, and you obviously feel for these other kids now, and you want to help make their lives better in some way, right?
100%, yes. Because from my time and my mom's time, we didn't have the facilities. Like we did only when we found out about Carl du Toit. We knew about it when we found them out. And now just being able to be out for other families, because one of my cousins recently, she knows of me because my grandmother used to speak to her about me a lot. And we only not started. My mom just told me, please speak to this auntie. And I'm like, okay. And then she just told me her son has hearing aids and she's thinking of going over to a cochlear implant, but she's uncertain. And when she spoke to me, she felt like her prayers were answered, because that was the first time interacting with me. And after all the stories my grandmother told her about me, her prayers were answered only because she was trying to see if a cochlear implant will aid her son to the level that she wants him to exceed in. he got his his first cochlear implant, and he's doing absolutely amazing. And so just, with these little things in play, I'm hoping that it can just expand, because there's other families out there who don't have the resources.
Right.
So with Carl Detoy, I'm hoping that it can just expand, because there's only 2 schools. There's one in Cape Town and one in Joburg. I'm hoping that it can expand more, because reaching out to other families who are looking at these options, and not having the facility, it can be like training, because you're trying to get where you need to be.
Well, you touched on so many good points there as well, right? So one of it that's really sticking out for me is the humanity factor, because that's where you've decided to give back. And the other one is to all the audience that are listening in today. I mean, Denolia made such a valid point. If you do have family members or even friends that are contemplating whether they should go with cochlear implants or hearing aids or not, get in touch with her or get in touch with somebody who has it already and understand what the benefits are offered, because that's going to really help you to make this decision, because it's not really a small decision, but once you make the decision, you realize the benefits from it, then you'll see it. And you got to do this. So don't hesitate, especially if your child is like really small and you're deciding whether to get cochlear implants or hearing aids. Make that decision, get as much advice as possible. We know cochlear implants are not cheap at all. The last time I checked the cost of it was like something like 425,000 rands. That is 500,000 South African rands. And, I so wish, Denolia, that, the medical aid companies or the companies out there can start realizing that this cost is so high and subsidize this in some way, because yes, there are families that can afford medical aid, but there are millions of families that cannot afford medical aid. And this is where I also believe, this is where I believe that our government needs to step up and do much more, right? But we can't sit back and wait for them either. We're not going to shift, or we're not going to move very far by just sitting and waiting for them to make their decisions.
Yes.
So,
It was a challenge my mom had to go through when she was telling me about it. Obviously, I was 4 months, so like I wouldn't have understood everything, but which told me now, and just thinking back, I'm like, you're really an amazing person. Like how you still managed to get me to the point where I am right now. And your little work has come out in the long run. So thankfully, well, I don't want to say thankfully, we were blessed enough that my mom was working at Old Mutual, but she still had to do fundraising because the medical aid did not cover the entire costs. And you still need to look at the operation needing to be done. You're importing, I think it's importing of your cochlears, because it's all coming from Germany. I think that's where mine came from. So like all those little things, and it's not cheap for a simple battery that's supposed to last for 32 hours is like about 5K, 6K, or even more.
Wow.
That's when you do the exchange. Not only that, there's the exchange rate that you have to look at it. Like those little things are like so, it makes you feel so overwhelmed just talking about it, just knowing the prices and knowing that the medical aid is not going to cover the entire cost. You have to do other things to be able to, cover all of the costs. So I 100% agree with you.
My personal opinion is I think the medical aid companies, and if you are listening to this and you work for a medical aid company or you're a CEO or director or whatever, you need to listen to what we're actually saying. Your costing around this is ridiculous. You need to think about the people think about humanity. Don't think about the dollar chase all the time and how much of profit you can make from this. Think about how you can impact humanity. And that, my friends, in the medical aid companies is priceless, right? So I'm just putting it out there, for all of you just to know and listen to this as well. So thank you for that, Denolia. That was like very insightful. I like what you're doing at the school. Really well done on that. And there's no doubt that it will expand because you're a visionary. You know what you want to do. At 21 years old, I don't think I had visions at your age when I was 21. Although I'm 21 again. No, but I didn't really have visions at that point. But you are so privileged that you know what you really want out of your life and you can drive towards this. I call it in a lot of my learnings and teachings is to have a definite major purpose in life. When you have this major purpose in life, you automatically start working towards that, and you'll overcome every single obstacle to make sure you get there.
Yes, 100%. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't know what I wanted to do at all until matric. When I was like in my final month of matric and I was writing finals and I'm thinking about university, what am I going to do for university and the rest of my life? And I still didn't know until then did I decide to go through psychology. And I'm hoping with psychology to take me through the route of being able to connect with people of my community. Then did I start doing these little stepping stones of being part of the Carl the Toy team and these little stepping stones where I'm now, you know, like it didn't go according to plan at all. I can guarantee plans doesn't always go according to plan, but the journey of it, going through it is beyond words.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're right. So that journey is the most important thing. Look, life is never a straight line. Life is never perfect, right? We're always going to have obstacles. The difference is as we grow and we learn much more, we know how to handle these obstacles and get through it as well. So, you know, really, really well done. I know you've been through a lot, right? If I just looked at your bio, I think it was in 7th grade that you experienced some bullying as well, right? And, you know, it's so unfortunate that all of these people that are bullies, they're really not taught better how to treat other humans. And bullying comes across from various forms, right? It happens. I mean, if you just follow a bit of what's happening at the schools and stuff, it's gone worse now. It's gone like 1,000 times worse than when I was back in school or even when you were back in school. So it's really sad. So, you know, just help our audience understand, you know, what type of bullying you went through and if there was any name calling, whatever, and how you got through this. Because the most important thing for me is how you got through it. Because there's audience in here today that will want to know, okay, or maybe experiencing the same thing. And they would say, okay, if Denolia can go through this and this is how she overcame it, why not try the same thing and allow me to get through that as well, basically.
So it was actually not in 7th grade that I was bullied. So it was much younger, only because my hair was always tied up and you can see the cochlears and everything. So people would ask me, what are on your ears? What are those things? Why do you look like you're such a dork? And I'll be made fun of because of the way how I look. Not only my cochlears, but also my eye. So my eye doesn't move the same direction. And I'll be questioned on it and then I'll be called names. And it got me to the point of wanting my hair down all the time. And then I would cut a fringe that would cover my eye. In all my school photos from primary school, not primary school, but when I stepped into grade 4 to grade 6, did I have my hair the way how it was. I did not like being around people. It got me to the point of feeling so insecure about the way I would look. And this was the period of time when I got into a new school. So from Carl de Toy, I was there till grade 3, and then I moved to high school, not high school, but Tafelberg. And I got there from grade 4 to matric. I was still pretty much made fun of, you know, high school life, different school, different society, just being made fun of, bullied on different levels. And when I was stepping into grade 7, the grade 7 was both on the high school side. So we were technically high schoolers, but not actually. Did I start changing my mentality towards myself? Just one day in grade 7 I think it was January side or February side, and just experiencing the high school life. I was like, why am I still being caught up on people's opinions and their harsh words? Why am I letting it stop me? And ever since that, I changed it completely. I started looking at my cochlears, started really embracing every inch of my insecurities. That's when I started feeling comfortable in my own skin and wanting to be around people, being able to socialize. That was the starting point of my journey of where I am right now. And just being able to, you know, just want to reach out to other people. That was the starting point, the rooting point of everything. And I started feeling so comfortable in my own skin. I tied my hair up, I covered, my face was like, all like you can see my face.
Yeah.
And that was the starting. And mom saw me, she's like, Denolia, why you look so different? I'm like, I don't know, I feel a bit different in a good way. And ever since then, I always try to encourage other people. So with the world now, bullying has become a very, very dominant thing that's happening in high school, especially high school. And I was thankful enough to be in a school that we try to make it known, no bullying at all. We would have posters of no bullies, like, you know, those posters, bully free zones,
Yes.
and just making awareness of it. That helped a lot. But there are still other schools that are doing it.
Wow.
And my biggest advice I can give a person who's going through bullying, be the better person by not taking it back and being mean to them. Rather just walk away and say, hey, thank you for the conversation, and walk off, or report it to your elders. They have leaderships that will cater for these things. I mean, with my school, it was RCL, which is Representative Councils of Learners. So they are the voice for the learners. And I was thankful enough to be part of it as well, just being the voice for the kids.
Wow.
And just having to see the amount of kids come to you to speak about these little problems, trying to find a solution to it is always the better way. So like being confident in your own skin, reminding yourself that you're worthy and you're enough. Those are the two biggest things I had to teach myself. To remind myself, I am worthy and I'm enough. No one's words can bring me down. Because I mean, we all have our insecurities. We all have our flaws. We're not born to be perfect at the end of the day. So importantly, embrace your insecurities. If you've been bullied or picked on for whatever category you want to call it, remember that you are enough and your words mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. They say bullies who have been bullied. Wait, no. They say bullies who are bullying other people have problems of themselves, like problems they're going through and they want to take it out on other people. That's where people need to like look for other ways to be able to solve it. Yeah. Because humanity is such a big thing. Why be rude to another person? Rather show kindness. It comes down in the long run.
You're so right, because with the bullies as well, there's nobody that's speaking to them and asking them or trying to dig deep and find out what's the root cause of their bullying, right? As a society, we tend to ignore it and we tend to reprimand them even more. And what this actually does is it puts them, allows them to become much more of a bully. Because can you imagine if you had reported a bully, what's that bully going to do? He's going to come after you again and again and again because he feels reprimanded. But if we had changed the way we approached it and said, okay, why don't we have a chat with this bully, whether it be a he or a she, and understand what's causing them to have this behavior? Because a lot of times, it's to do with family issues. They're being either beaten at home or maybe a sibling is beating them up or so, and they feel, okay, now I need to go and take this take this out on somebody else. But I so like what you said here. Why am I getting caught up on people's harsh words? That is so powerful, right? Because you're basically saying, and a lot of the audience need to get this, why am I getting caught up on people's harsh words? What we need to understand is we are the controllers of this beautiful body of ours, this beautiful mind of ours. What we allow to go in will affect us in some way. So here's the thing. If we allow all these negative comments to come in all the time, we're going to react negatively. And when we react negatively, that's going to lead to us being sad and depressed. It could make us be suicidal or whatever it may be. But imagine if you're more consciously aware of, like what you've just said, Denolia. You said, why am I getting caught up on people's harsh words? The moment you made that up in your mind, you automatically blocked out what all these people were saying. And that's why you're able to reflect only positive energy now, because you're blocking out all this negative crap that comes through. So that is powerful. For the audience, it's so important, because especially with mental wellness, a lot of people get caught up on all the negative. I've been there as well. I don't think I can't remember being bullied or so, but I was the one person that also worried what the community or society would think about me. And that led to
Yes.
me feeling a little embarrassed, about certain situations that I was in as well. But then as I grew older, as I matured, I realized, but just live by a simple rule. And that simple rule is, what other people think about me is none of my business. It really is. And
100.
so it's this kind of attitude that we need to adopt as well. So you're right, bullying is an interesting topic. How's bullying in with the school that you are in? Is there bullying going on as well? Have you noticed?
There has been a few like incidents that I've noticed that they don't actually realize what's happening. So there was a very rare incident that I witnessed. This one kid came, there was three people, two boys and one girl. The one boy was teasing the other boy, saying that this is his girlfriend. So in his head, he thought, okay, so I'm being made fun of. He didn't actually really intake it like that, but he felt sad and he felt hurt by it. I'm sure he did, and felt threatened. So then he ended up using violence. I don't know what triggers them to get to the point of violence, but he ended up hitting the other kid in his area. And then the kid who got hurt, he came up to me and he said he hit me, and only because he was teasing me. Well, he told as a joke that this girl is his girlfriend. And then I was like, okay, first off, why is there violence in this? There should never be violence. So I went up I asked him, who's this kid? He showed me, and I told him, never use violence. If something like this happens, either go to your teachers. You have your teachers on duty. Go to them. If you see me around, come to me and tell me. But don't use violence. That was one of the incidents I've noticed, that they use violence as an answer. And I don't know if it is from the home surroundings or anything, but they don't really understand that violence and saying rude words to another person is not okay. It's really not. And when we notice as teachers on duty and we notice these things, we will tell them, this is not right. Please go apologize. And we're hoping to inroot that in them at this age, so that by the time they go to grade 4, which is in a different school, a different world, because this whole school is just with kids and with cochlears and hearing aids. No, like there will be one or two without. But the minute they step out of this school into another school, it's different. Complete normal hearing world. You are with other kids who don't have the same thing as you, and you're gonna feel lost in it. And that's where they're gonna, either feel that they'll have the thought, will they get bullied? Will they be made fun of in a different world now? And that's when they need to remind themselves that they can get through it, and they will get through it as long as they believe in themselves and they know that they're enough. I wish I had that mentality when I was in grade 4, but it only took me to go through the experience. And I tried to teach these kids as well, especially the grade 3s going into grade 4 next year. I tried to tell them, you're going to a different world now. Remember that you are enough. And if there's people who's going to make fun of you or say rude words, don't listen to them. It means nothing. And the same thing I tell them in the school, if there is another kid saying something rude to them, we'll tell them, don't listen to him. And then we'll go to the other kid and tell them, you're not supposed to say that, please apologize. So we try to inroot it now at the early stages.
And I think it's not only not listening to them, it's not allowing it to get to you. Because even if you choose not to listen to them, they'll still be in your ear trying to say something negative. It's just blocking it out and not taking it to heart. Because when kids do take this to heart, then there's some situations or issues that come out that we can't control, right? That really leads to them even contemplating suicide as well. So, it's a reality out there as well. So good stuff on that. And I think there's a lot of education that we still need to do around the bullying as well. I know it does happen a lot, not a lot. I know of cases where it happens in the deaf community as well. Some people just feel bullied. And I can tell you, apart from the deaf community or these kids, even adults feel bullied as well. And even adults don't feel that they are enough. Even adults don't feel like they're good enough, or they need to block out all of this. And it's only because a lot of the people have come from this background where they were conditioned with just accepting everything the way it is. The difference is they don't realize that they can unlearn all those bad habits and relearn new positive and good habits as well. So thanks for sharing that. I think just on my last question, I just want to know a bit more about how do you feel being around, as you say, normal people? We all are normal people, right? We just have disabilities in some way or the other. How's your circle of friends? Who do you connect with? Are you open to connecting with every single one or whoever crosses your path? Tell me a bit about.
I'm more into right now, the current state. I've realized that there are people who are meant to be in your life, and there are people who are just a learning experience, and then people who are not meant to be in your life. So those who are still with me today, 21 years back and forth, are the people who are meant to be in my life. And then I have met a lot of people that were there for a good time, and then you just learn whole new disruptive world that you end up cutting ties, or it slowly fades. So the moment, my heart always tries to want to reach out to people and be there for people and communicate and connect with people. But then there are times where, you're just being hurt by people to the point that you want to doubt humanity. But having the kind of heart, want to see through that, you would still go and meet people. So how I feel in my normal living world, as a person who is born deaf, cochlear implanted, I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be able to still expand and grow and meet new people. And just growing your network is only better because you get exposed to different worlds, different perspectives, and your perspective changes as well, which I always love going through. I don't like being too comfortable because then I'm not growing. The minute I feel too comfortable in a space, then I'm not going. Then I know I need to challenge myself to do something. And I try to do little challenges every day, especially working out. Like I try to do little challenges just to keep myself out of that comfort zone. So circle-wise, friends-wise, family-wise, I feel like I'm in a good space with them. But even so, it doesn't stop me from still meeting new people. There is like a little voice at the back of my head sometimes, and I do meet new people in a new crowd that think, oh, what are they thinking about me? Like, how do they see me because, my eyes and the stuff on my ears and stuff. Like, there will be a voice at the back of my head that would be saying that. Whenever I'm in this situation, I always remind myself, don't listen to it. It's only going to bring you down and you want to isolate. I try pushing it away and just be in that moment.
And that's more like a perception, right? Because you kind of, I don't want to use the word making it up in your mind, but you kind of assuming in your mind that person will react in this way. But in all reality, it could be just that person will never ever respond to you in that way, right? But we somehow think that as humans, because we always want to keep our guards up all the time. And there's nothing wrong in protecting your boundaries. It's really good. But like you said, don't let it get to you as well. So that's the most important thing. So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can go on.
So, no, I just wanted to say thank you so much for inspiring us today. I'm sure the audience would love listening to you and, just your journey through life as well. This is Inspirational Journeys Through Life. And this is what we want to do. We want to inspire the audience out there as well. Any last words or advice or anything for the audience?
All I can say is just remind yourself that you're enough. The minute you remind yourself that you're enough, you can get through anything, literally anything. That I wish I had the philosophy when I was younger, especially going into grade 4. That when I was 14, no, not even much younger, somewhere around about there. But I wish I had that, because if I didn't have that, I don't think I would be where I am right now. Those little stepping stones would have been different. If I did not appreciate myself from a younger age and those insecurities, you won't be able to appreciate yourself when you're older. And that's one of my biggest lessons I feel that everyone should do, no matter the age. Remind yourself that you're enough. You can do anything and everything that you want to do.
Wow, good solid advice for all of you listening. Really powerful. Appreciate yourself. And you know what? I'm glad you learned that earlier. I learned it very late in my life to appreciate myself and value myself. Self-love is one of the most important things that anyone should be paying attention to in this century as well. So thanks, guys, for listening to our show. Please share this podcast with your friends, your family, or anyone that you think can benefit from just listening to Denolia's story. It really is inspiring. And in saying that as well, please follow us on our social networks. Just look out for Straight Talk with Nolan. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're now even on TikTok as well, also on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to reach out to us. And thanks once again for listening to us. Denolia, thank you once again. Really appreciate your time and look forward to meeting you again and having a cup of coffee or so. So when you're in Johannesburg, please make a turn and connect with us as well. So thank you.
100%. Thank you. Thank you so much.